Hello. Oh, let's make that a little bit softer in my ears. Maybe also, let's drop that audio level a little bit. 10, just 10. Okay, that should be nice and soft, I hope. Hello. I just see Poddle in chat. Hi. I am back. It's a Tuesday, and I have 2 bits of good news, and I have 2 bits of bad news. The first bit of bad news I'll start with is inspired by, or it has inspired this choice of mug. Some lovely fresh coffee. The Dutch PHP conference has been changed from an in-person event to an online event. So I guess it's good that the event's not going away entirely. It is the first time in 10 or 15 years that it's doing this, that it is not an in-person event. And so that's sad because I'm not going to get to see my friends from Europe this year, and I was quite looking forward to that. Actually, just hold on a second, I'll get something quickly. So, in prep for that, before I knew it was going to be cancelled, I actually went and got this this box of Lego, because one of the talks that I was going to be doing there was a talk about controlling Technic and Lego things with PHP code. And so I was going to build this on stream. I still am going to build it on stream, and I would still like to prepare as if I was going to do that talk. But I won't be doing it in Amsterdam, unfortunately, this year. So that's a bit of bad news. That kind of sucks. But I mean, this is cool. Like, I'll be doing this on stream, so look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. Okay, bit of good news is that OBS, Streamlabs OBS launched for Mac OS today. So if you're a streamer and you're on Mac, you could get to use this lovely bit of code that they've released, which is a modified version of OBS, which is open source code, but they have integrated it very tightly with Streamlabs, so you can see things like all the alerts that Streamlabs gives you. You can still manage sources and scenes and audio like you could with OBS, but you also get tighter integration with things like the widgets that you've set up, like chat widgets and events widgets. To give you a demo, this is like super cool. So like you can do things like test stuff. So you could say, let's test a follow animation, and so you could see what that looks like there. I actually think weirdly, I think I don't hear that sound on here, because I've said alerts should be audible, but for some reason that's not coming through. So I don't know. Don't really know what that's about because I can't hear them. But anyway, you can do things like test your different widgets that you've got going on here. You can arrange the UI, so you can like say what this thing should look like. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. Interacting with CloudBart, adding new widgets. You can do theming through this. You can also do, I can't remember how, like if some of these things, like, okay, the events widget, this is just an HTML widget from here. So this is similar to the OBS thing that was there before, but if you go to the chat widget, there's one of these where I was getting like a browser source. Maybe it's actually because I've modified this widget's URL. Let me just check that quickly. So small chat, go to the, hello? Go to the end of this, hit done. Yeah, so like in some instances, like if let me just test this out quick. Testing a chat message. So you should see like that chat message should be like down the bottom here underneath where my mouse cursor is on the screen. But then one of the things I was seeing earlier is that on some of these instances you can like open. Okay, so here's the alert box where there is like hectic customization around this that is directly in Streamlabs. Whereas it was just an HTML embed with normal OBS. So I'm really excited about all of those kinds of things, where it's tighter integration. Really excited about that. So that was a bit of good news. Another bit of bad news is a couple weeks ago I mentioned that I was getting a whole bunch of new streaming gear and going to be unboxing that on stream. The local supplier that I ordered that stuff from cancelled yesterday. they cancelled the order, refunded the money yesterday, and it was a huge amount of streaming stuff. So that sucks. But on the other hand, it gave me the opportunity to refine what I wanted to get, because I was planning to get I had ordered actually and paid for a M50 mirrorless camera that I was going to use with this thing, Camlink, to act as a webcam for better video. I ordered an XLR audio setup, which was expensive and probably more technical than what I needed. So I can actually show you what the refined list of hardware is going to be, because I'm just umming and ahhing about some of the pieces, and then I will confirm this in the next day or two. The thing is, I can pay for this stuff now, but as you can probably see in the top here, South Africa is in a lockdown, which means no essential services can be sold, or no non-essential services or products can be sold until 17th of April. So I can order this stuff now, but I can't. It won't be delivered until. Oh, that's interesting. This thing's buttons are really poorly done. Even if I pay for this now, it won't be delivered until after the 17th of April. So probably looking at around the 20th of April for the stuff to be delivered. But it's like some little peripherals, like a headset that doesn't have a mic, or this weird like charging cable, which I can probably unplug now. Hello? Yes, I can unplug this now. It does have a mic in it, but the mic's concealed normally, and then you can pop it out if you need to use that mic. Upgrading RAM for the iMac that I work on. So I stream off Mac. You probably would have noticed from like the window Chrome. But yeah, it was the cheapest Mac I could get that I could still adjust the RAM in. So I'm finally doing that, adjusting its RAM. So at the moment it's got like 8 gigs of RAM or something. I'm going to be upping that to 64. I got one of the only webcams that are good that you can still buy, because the rest are out of stock. So I'm going to be getting that one, a medium-sized Stream Deck. I got some really cool ideas for that. Elgato, an Elgato green screen, an HD60S. So I have Switch, and I kind of want to try and play some Switch games while I'm talking about stuff in the future for like some ARB streams or maybe impromptu streams. So I'd love to do that. So I'm going to be using the HD60 for that. This mic, so I can actually link to that because it's a little bit bigger. I'll link to a few of these things that are cool. So this mic, okay, so a bit of good news, the last bit of good news is that I did that big tech order from Takealot, who's like a local Amazon stockist for stuff. And a couple days later, I did an order for some Elgato multi-mounts that Takealot don't sell. And actually those arrived earlier today. So if I, let me loosen this quickly and then I'll show you. Like, oh, you can't even see it. I've moved it completely out the way. That's so interesting. So I got a couple of multi-mounts. I will actually remove it from the desk and show you what it looks like. It's like a desk clamp, and you can adjust the extension of this pole, and then you can also get like these custom sets of like adjustable arms, so that you can really make you can make a customized mic stand or camera stand or light stand that Also still looks really good and works really well. The build quality is amazing. You can't actually see that. That's so interesting because the mic's going to be here. So you would see the mic on stream in future streams when I have this mic, but you wouldn't see the arm. That's interesting. Okay, well, for now, I'm going to move it up and out the way. Which way? We'll do it this way. We'll tighten it. And then this mic with its shock mount is going to go on that multi-mount. So that's cool. Getting some of these lights for the back. I'll actually go to this image because it shows you how these position. So they have like desktop things, and Elgato make these lights. So stands like the multi-mount that they sit on, and then they have an external power source, but they're diffused LEDs and they're software controllable. So I'll be able to change their brightness selectively, or maybe like flash them for alerts, or whatever. And I'm definitely going to be setting some of these things up on stream, which is pretty cool. I also got another multi-mount for the webcam that I use, which is going to be a similar setup to this. It's not a camera like this, it is a webcam like this, which you'll see if you look at this picture. It just has a normal camera screw mount, so it's going to mount directly onto the multi-mount stand, very similar to this, but it's going to be upside down because to get around screens and all that. And then the final really exciting piece, which you're never going to see but I'm going to see, is this monitor, which is actually going to become my primary monitor. I'm going to use the iMac as like a secondary screen to have Streamlabs OBS on, and like a bunch of other things that are useful for streaming when I'm streaming, or just extra windows for meta stuff while I'm coding. So this is going to be my primary, and it is a 27-inch curved monitor that is 144 hertz and 1 millisecond response time. So it is going to be so nice to work with. The only thing is it's not Retina, which sucks, but I can't use Retina screens for stream anyway because I don't want the processing burden of resizing down dynamically. So I end up spending all my days just forgetting to switch it back to Retina. I switch it off Retina for the stream, so I don't have to resize that thing in real time. But then I forget to put it back on Retina, and so most of the time it's just not on Retina mode. It is not on Retina mode now. So as a secondary screen, I'm not going to end up looking at this, but the new screen that I'm going to get as a primary is going to be slightly curved, non-Retina, but the same resolution as the iMac is now, and very fast refresh rates. And I'm so looking forward to that. One of the things that came with the multi-mounts is actually there's a desktop arm which I can't show you because it's a desktop mount. I can't show you because it's actually mounted, but it's to hold this new screen, and it can hold up to like 24 kilos or something of monitor. So totally fine. So I'm getting all this equipment in place, but I was hoping for it to come today. Obviously it didn't. Some of the equipment did, like the multi-mounts, but the main tech order didn't. So I started putting together this new this new shopping cart of stuff. And in a day or two, I'll place that order, and so hopefully it'll arrive around the 27th. Yeah, this is obviously not as good as that M50 mirrorless camera that I wanted, but quality-wise, it looks good. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, all that is to say, things are happening with the stream. We got some UI, some stream overlay UI a while ago. We're getting some equipment soon. And with that webcam, I'm also going to be able to point it towards Lego when I put that stuff together on stream. So in a few weeks' time, when that camera is here, hopefully, and I can put it on these multi-mounts and I can point it down and actually do electronics and Lego on stream that you can see in good quality. I'm so excited about that thing. I'm going to have like different scenes where one is you see the desktop where I'm coding and like a small webcam thing of the equipment, and then like I switch scenes to when I'm like messing with equipment, and then you could see that on the main window. It's going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Sure, 15 minutes of news. That's hectic. I feel like Tuesdays are going to need to be news days because I won't have been on stream for a few days, presumably, like on schedule. And so I'm just not going to, I'm just going to vent news on a Tuesday, I think, or a Monday if I end up streaming then. D Jekyll, welcome to chat. How you doing? Okay, so on Thursday I worked on Nexmo on a PR, and I was actually in the process of starting that stuff up again. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I was just on a Gitstore call with Jason, actually. Okay, so Nexmo streams code. Oh, actually, no, the place I wanted to go was Nexmo PHP. Because we were busy doing a thing. We were super busy doing a thing. I do actually need to open that other repo up in a separate tab. So let me do that quickly. What is up with my console? What's taking so long with that? Am I dropping frames? Nope. Nexmo streams, and code this as well. Okay, so I did two. Actually, I only did one PR. Actually, only did one PR, but it was that. Wow, this has gotten very ugly. Okay, so the PR I did was that this wasn't possible to do. Like, if you want to, okay, a bit of background in case this is the first time you're seeing Nexmo in action. Nexmo is like a set of APIs that allows you to do communication-based stuff. When Adam Culp was working on this a few months ago, well, I don't know if it was a few months, but a few weeks definitely ago, he was doing this thing where he had like a mobile number, and you call that mobile number and you speak into it, and then it sends a recording to Nexmo, and then you get an event back with a webhook that says, okay, your recording is at this URL with this ID, and then you can download that using the Nexmo client, using something like this, where you say new Nexmo client and you do the normal auth stuff that you do, and then there's like this get method with the recording URL, and that lets you download, that gives you like a response body of the recording, and then you can upload that somewhere. So he was downloading that recording, and then he was uploading that to AWS, and then he was trying to do transcription on the recording. So the idea is you call the number, it does the recording, his code downloads that recording, uploads it to S3 transcodes, and then he's got like a text entry of what was spoken during that recording, which is flippin' cool code, right? It's really cool code. But then I suggested in that stream, in his stream, hey, like, what if you want to stream the file from Nexmo servers to S3, not pass it through your server? Because maybe your recording is quite large, and so you don't necessarily want that to occupy memory in your app. And then I suggested I do a PR. Then Thursday, I did that PR, or I started it at least. It's not finished. But the basic gist of it is that you can now, in this PR, you can optionally provide some things to initialize Guzzle with. So Guzzle gives you this ability to fetch a stream of data, and then you can pass that through whatever code takes a stream to somewhere else. So I was doing that in my example. With this PR, I could say stream is true. Interesting. I could say stream is true, and then use this new stream method that the PR also adds, which is like just a little wrapper around client get. Client stream, and that will do a client get the recording, and this will give you back a resource. And so that you can use stream copy to stream. So that'll let you like download with a stream. The memory usage is a lot less than if you just get the whole body. No, that's cool. D Jekyll, that's chilled. Welcome. How are you doing? So that's what I got up to in the PR, but I've since had like a slight change of how I'm thinking about this, which is instead of having a separate stream and then a Guzzle options array, that's good to hear. I am good, thank you. Instead of having like a stream parameter, yeah, surviving pandemic, eh? and then a separate guzzle options thing. The thought occurred to me after the stream to say, what if we just say that as part of these options, you can say guzzle stream true, and then this uses the actual guzzle parameters, right? Because that gives you that kind of gives you what you want. That's half the PR right there. And then instead of wrapping in this special thing, we could just say, if not empty options guzzle, take guzzle over there, and then we don't have to do all of this crap, right? Much smaller request, much smaller request. So this stuff all really stays pretty much the same. I had to default this because if this never executes, that won't be defined. But this stays the same. If isNull client equals this stuff, which is how it was before. But now, if you give a guzzle key in this options array, then it makes the new client with those options. And come to find, you can just do guzzle stream true. This should still stream at that limited memory. Well, so Chris Tankersley was here on stream giving me help, and he approved the whole thinking of it. It's not, the PR itself still needs some work. So like it was in a good space, but I didn't finish it because we were already pushing like 2.5 hours. So I just want to verify that this change works quickly. Oh, not get store. Hold on, let me close that out. Oh, flip, did I close the wrong thing now? I totally did close the wrong thing. Yeah, he liked it. He liked it, which is cool. Okay, so that was my example. Code, this is my feature branch. So I'm just going to keep on pushing stuff to this feature branch until I'm happy with it. Okay, so I just want to test out that this change works. I actually need to do one or two things in order to test that, because now that I have disabled guzzle, not guzzle, ngrok. Oh, firstly, let me do a, this should actually be symlinked, right? Nexmo core source client. Let me just find this quickly, just to make sure it's symlinked. Yeah, it's symlinked. So I don't need to do a composer update, but I need to run this server to hear the webhooks. So php-t, okay, so run that. And then I need to do an ngrok HTTP 8000. Okay, cool. I'll get there one day. Ooh. Okay, so I'm running the server to hear the webhooks, and I've got ngrok going, and then I just need to replace these URLs quickly in the app that I've got set up on Nexmo. We set up the app last time, but it was using the ngrok URLs that were available then. So I just need to update its URLs quickly. Do I do it through here? Yeah. That and that. Save. Okay. And then the other thing which this is amazing. Lorna Jane showed me this. Okay, so now from terminal, I should be able to, let me just go back into that Nexmo streams thing. I should be able to say, actually, I only need to run the webhook if I want to record calls. Let me see if I can record that call again quickly. So we set this all up last time where I purchased a number and then I had the webhook code. If we go here, we'll actually see what that looks like. There's a not found there. It's probably for favicon, I guess. Hold on. Recent calls. This was a while ago. So 14 calls to this. So this was probably the Nexmo number. There we go. Okay, so this is going to go on forever because I actually changed the timeout value to like 120 seconds. So once it hears 120 seconds of silence, it'll drop. But I can hang that up. And then there's another event here. Events. network duration 13 seconds. It does a little bit of this stuff, and then it should also send me an event to say when the recording's done. It should send me an event. So there was an answer at that number. Yeah, I don't see that recording endpoint, but I can go here. I think. Oh, you know what? I didn't change. That's a good point. There was a thing that I had to do here. Index, record. This needed to change. So that actually tells it where to send the webhook when it's done recording. I forgot to change that URL. Okay, so I'm going to call it again quickly. Let me clear this, and then I'll do the recording again. Cool. So here's a call. It's going on like 5 seconds. Hang up. And there's that post webhooks recording, and then we've got a recording URL. So like this is what Adam was downloading in his stream. I actually just want to check that this music playing is still from a soundtrack. Okay. Cool, it's still from a soundtrack. Okay, I must remember to come back and actually it'll just go on to the next soundtrack, so fine. Okay. Probably don't need to mess with that. So here we have the recording URL that we can download. Now I want to download the big one that I had. So download full is the script that I did, which gets the full unstreamed response body. PHP download full, and here you'll see this is like for that recording I did, which was like a 60 or 80 second recording I did on the stream last week. It's 8 megs of memory used. And then if I use the streams approach, it should be just 4 megs. Oh, not streams, stream. It should just be 4 megs, assuming there isn't like some syntax error in the change that I did. Yeah. So with streams then, it's like a fixed size download no matter how big the audio file is. So this is definitely the improvement I was looking to see in this PR. And I think now that I can see this is working, I'm actually going to submit this instead of that stream is true and then guzzle options is whatever custom. I'm going to submit this like this. Yeah. The only question I have, which I didn't really answer on Thursday, is this stream method that we have. I can show you what it looks like in case you missed it. It's just a proxy to get, but I guess it'll always apply, right? I guess this detach will always apply. Maybe we do something like body is this get body, and then if method exists, what are the params on that again? Method exists, object string method name. If method exists, body detach, then return body detach, otherwise just return body. So if this is not a streamable thing, like with Guzzle, then yeah, if this is not a streamable response with a Guzzle client, then you know what I should do? I should actually do this. Yes, we did. We did. I wasn't sure if you were here last time or not. If not method exists, response get body. So this is actually a lot of custom code squarely directed at Guzzle. Response get body. Yeah, but the stream method is on the Nexmo client, not on the HTTP client. So we could, I guess we could subclass. That's actually probably a better idea. Yeah. I'm actually glad that you've held me to that. Streamer interface. I'm actually glad you've held me to that. So we can do interface, streamer interface. See, I didn't get this far in the PR last time. Let me just delete all this stuff first. Okay, streamer interface, and then this is like public function stream, and this takes the parameters that the stream function takes. This stuff here. Oh. On a stream. I'm on a stream. No problem. I just didn't know if you wanted to be on video. Okay. So we can do that, and then we can just use inherit doc from this. Inherit doc. Okay, so for a streamer thing for the stream method to exist, it has to implement this interface, and then we can say something like, this is actually a client in the same namespace, so we can say something like, if this client instance of stream interface, then return this client stream response. I understand now. I understand. Who was it, like AsJazz, who was suggesting that this method takes a response in? That's actually flipping clever. Else return the response directly. Or maybe do we do something like this? This is actually, I think, better. So here we could throw new exception, runtime exception. Runtime exception? Client does not support streaming. Else return this client stream this get. Right? Okay, I'm going to leave all this code in here for just a second. And then the other thing we need to make is a wrapper around this, or a subclass of this, right? I think actually that this is final, if I remember correctly. Vendor, PHP HTTP, Guzzle6 adapter, source clients. It's not final. That's really cool. We can subclass it. Okay. So what will we say? Client, streamable, streaming Guzzle adapter. I actually prefer this name to streamer. Okay. All right, let's put this stuff in here. So this will be Nexmo clients and then class. Copy that. Let me make this a little bit wider. Does this make sense, DJ? Cool. Does this make sense? Public function stream. so this is not actually what this should be. Come to think of it, that's not what that should be. That should be a response. Request interface, but I would have said maybe a guzzle stream adapter. Guzzle stream adapter. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's better as well. Okay, so this stream actually takes a response, right? It takes whatever this get returns. This get, this get, this get, this get, this get. This is what this takes. Okay, so I need to use this. Use that. Stream. And so I actually have to, oh, and this returns a resource. That's what that takes. So this stream, I'm also going to change this to streaming interface. Okay, stream takes this in. Wow, I had an extra thing there. So these no longer apply, but the return does need to be type entered because we can't type int void. Yes, exactly. So this actually needs to implement this. So I'll have to use this, use Nexmo that, and this implements that. Okay. Oh. Okay. And then this is why I left this code commented out. Because you might not have defined that this should be streamed. And I don't know what the likelihood of detach being there is if you haven't said that. Let me rephrase. It may be using our custom adapter and interface, but if you haven't said options guzzle stream equals true, you don't want a streaming response. And so in this case, we're not going to call detach if you haven't said, if that detach method isn't there, we're just going to return the body straight away. So you can still use the stream method. If you haven't said stream, it'll just give you the response body. Really, it should just throw a runtime exception. Okay, I can dig it. We do need to use this runtime exception in here though, because otherwise that's not going to resolve. Over here, so if not method exists, then no. So maybe we can do that. Does this detach method only work if you say, this is what I want to know. Like, is it still valid guzzle to say detach even if you haven't said that it should be streaming? Client. Like, what is that body? What is the body object that comes back? Your method is a stream, so it makes more sense to throw. Personally, it's more concrete. Yeah, I get that. But like, what I want to avoid is reaching into. What I want to avoid is reaching into the options that you define the Nexmo client with, in order to say that it should throw if those options aren't defined. Like, let me figure out like if you do a get this request, okay, function request, this async request. Okay, let's go back here then. This transfer request options function transfer. Yeah, 100%. Promise for handler. Handler is options handler. What? Where do you set handler in here? Prepare defaults. I don't know. I don't know where handler is set here. Let's proceed on the notion that if that method doesn't exist, throw new runtime exception, not a streamable response. Else return this. Night, buddy. Have a good sweep. Okay. Ooh, I got a brownie and I got another cup of coffee, even though I made myself a cup of coffee when I started the stream. Okay. So if there's no detach method on this response on this body, then brownie hype. If there's no detach method, just throw that exception. Otherwise, return detach, and that should give you a stream back. And so we need to include this Nexmo client guzzle stream adapter in our client. Let's just do it under here. Use Nexmo client that, and that is the thing that we use down here. New this thing. Okay. So I actually want to follow, you see there's a runtime exception here. I wonder if I should maybe follow that instead. Maybe I should follow that pattern instead. So use this full thing. And then delete these two includes, and similarly, I'm not even using it here, but I need to use it here. Request interface, response interface is probably what I need to deal with, right? Where did I include that? In my guzzle stream adapter? Yeah, let me copy it from there again in case I've done something wrong there. Okay, so response interface, there we're using response interface again, but let's use the fully qualified domain name there. Everything else I think is fine. Maybe let's fully qualify this. No, I think that's fine. Okay. So now, because we're using this custom thing here, and we're just passing the response directly to here, we can delete all of this code. Okay, let's run our test again. Download full. Where's my app? Download full. So this is without the streaming, just the stock standard Nexmo client. And then download with stream. Error! Client does not support streaming. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. It is not the same interface, yeah. Not this client instance of, but this client is. Weird. Weird. What am I doing wrong here? Not client instance of that. Throw new runtime exception. Streamer, streaming. Wrong class name. There we go. I think that's the problem. Let's see. 4 megs. Perfect. Okay, I think this is a much better implementation. So thanks. Vendor, this is not where I need to put it. This is where I need to put it. So what's changed? We simplified the options dramatically, and we're using our custom Guzzle Stream adapter. Stream inherits doc, but that's not actually valid. It is actually the same params. Takes a streamable response and returns a resource. Okay. So yeah, I mean we're abstracting this stuff away. So stream method doesn't depend on just a Guzzle implementation. It depends on an implementer of this that takes in a PSR response. And if it's not implementing that, but you're calling stream, it'll throw a hissy fit. But if it is a streaming interface, then you can call this on it with that PSR response. And whatever implementation it is, it'll give you back. It'll give you back a stream, which is really cool. So we've got one implementation in the core, which is Guzzle, which is the default client. And then other HTTP clients can implement their own streaming interface. Cool, I dig it. Thank you so much for the help. Yeah, git add this, git commit this, feet. Feet. Did I spell that right? Implementation. Wow, it's one of those things where you look at it long enough and then it starts to look wrong. Okay. Oh, I can get to there from here. No, I can't. Oh. Oh. Pull requests. Nexmo add stream support. There we go. So let's look at what this thing. I can actually edit this. Oh. Should probably edit this to add other. Here we go. Yeah, the code where you have to read, a job where you have to read code you've written every single day, and where a single misplaced character can ruin your day. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great career choice. Okay, so overall, we've changed how this works. It used to be this default HTTP adapter. We've got our custom one that implements streaming, takes options slightly differently in, and defines this stream method that you can now call, but only on implementers. Then we've got our adapter, which deals with Guzzle in this regard. And we've got our interface that new adapters need to implement. So we can actually do adapters. We could add suggests for different HTTP clients here and have adapters defined in here, like that are as simple as this for the different clients. We don't have to require those clients in total, which is pretty cool. But that's maybe some other work. Hey, let's maybe add, possibly add adapters for other clients. Add those clients to suggests. Oh, suggesties. Now I can only spell color as that, but I'm English, not American. Yeah. I can't. There are these words I think in programming where we just pick an implementation method and stick with that, even if we feel like it doesn't gel. Like color is one of those things for me. I do CSS so much that it just doesn't make sense for me to stick to my principles on that one. So yeah. Okay. Cool. I am stoked with this. I need to think about testing, but I don't want to figure that crap out on stream because I think that's going to be the most boring thing you have ever seen in your life. So instead, I will go to a special and hidden link. And yeah. I just see the tweet now that you did about hiding my Ngrok URL, and I didn't, and I could totally be trolled about it. Chris Tankersley sent me a link to a repo where the examples are going to be for v3. So I will load that up on stream. Woohoo! And I can get rid of this. Where's this? Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the right one. Cool. You'd like to see that. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I will contest. Okay. So how do we test this? There's a few things that we need to test now based on just the work that we've done now, which is... no problem. Which is, if you... Okay, looking just at this PR, here are some things we would want to test. Are we using custom guzzle config if someone provides guzzle in this array? That's a test we could do. So we'd have to figure out how to inspect this adapter to see its config or its client config or however we do that. That's the thing we'd have to do. And we'd also have to verify that if you don't specify options, what you get doesn't have that in. Okay. For testing this, we would have to have a specially configured adapter. So like a specially configured client on one hand and a default config client on the other hand. Run the default config stream method and see an exception. Run the specially configured one and get a resource response. I don't know that we would go as far as to seeing that it is a resource response. Like we would have to populate with a with an environmental based recording ID and skip the test. I think at this point, if the recording ID environment variable is not there. Because like full integration test, that's probably what we do. Unless we did a mock of the HTTP client and just saw that the get method was called on it. Yeah, you're not seeing the exception, but it would probably throw a different exception because we need to pass this URL. It would be like a 400 or a 500 or something. But let's see what happens when we call this with a blank URL. Let's see what happens. It's maybe like a 500 error from Nexmo's API side to say, hey, this is not a valid thing. You know what would be amazing? Hey, you know what would be amazing? And I wish more APIs would do this, is if you define your API and then you have API errors, right? Like you need to do... Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, ZTTP. What would be interesting is if your API outputs errors for like a poorly formed URL or can't find this thing, it would be interesting to have a set of endpoints that you can call that will always return a successful response so that you can put them into systems tests like this. So if you call this URL that is like recording/1234, it will always return you a successful body, even if you haven't uploaded that yourself. So you can use that testing URL in your systems tests to say, if the response that comes back all the way on the other side of the client has this data from the testing URL, it must have been a successful response. Oh, Google has those. Well, not an errors endpoint, but like the opposite of an errors endpoint. Like you know what the error is going to be if you request the wrong thing, and you could test for that. But an endpoint that always returns mock data of a successful response at a fixed URL. So you can test as though you were calling a valid recording URL, and you will get back a success response even though you haven't uploaded that recording to begin with, in Nexmo's case. Yeah, the thing is, I need this in Nexmo's context. Like, that, it would be good to see that, but I think it's the kind of thing that API implementers need to do per API that they implement. But I'll suggest that to these folks. Maybe they'd be keen on doing that. It's also like docs, right? Like, you could just, in your docs, instead of saying this is the sample response, you could curl the response. Yeah, there should just be some, like, I don't know if it's like some, I mean, to use a pseudo code example, if it was like Laravel's Sushi, by Caleb Porzio, that just returned a record, you could hard code a record, and so like the API will look up that record and just return the static encoded thing or something. I don't know, whatever, or just a record that they mark to never delete. Because then you could use that URL in test for this. So I could say stream that URL here and check its response on the other side. I wouldn't have to like now mock this thing or whatever. For this Guzzle Stream adapter, we would have to pass it a response. Again, would be helpful if we had a dummy URL we could call. Pass it a response and see that we get a resource back. We can't test an interface really. So yeah, there's a few different tests we would do here, I think. The question is, how are those tests defined? Currently, there's a big old client test class here. So we'd probably do something in here, right? This HTTP. What is this HTTP? An HTTP mock. Cool. It's already mocked, but that's the HTTP mock, right? That's not the... Would I have to extend that at all? Like, what is doing that? Set up this HTTP, this get HTTP mock. Oh, okay. Cool. So there is already a mocking class for this. Cool. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna refactor the whole thing, but I will try and test the things that we want to test. Public function test can configure streaming. So we need a new client with no options. Yeah, no, I get that. We need a new client with no options, and then we need to say yeah, you see, so this mock, it's actually okay for us to have like a guzzle thing here. If we run this, okay, firstly, let me comment this all out and try and run the tests to begin with. Composer, install, and then what is the testing command to run? Boom, 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 boom. There's no script. Vendor bin PHP unit. Okay. Some failures. What's that about? Okay, so it's not based on work that I've done. Expected as API, what you got is rest.nexmo. So it's probably not based on stuff that I've done, right? It's all that same thing. Actual is rest.nexmo. What if we change all of these instances to API.nexmo? Oh, that didn't work. Contact them about tests before going forward. Yeah, I could be. I mean, that's why I wanted to run this before I added my tests in, because, like, if that's not working. But I can see what tests are failing, right? So as long as I bear that in mind, if I add my test and they run right at the end, I'll be able to see that. Like I could say this, assert, false, true, and then I'll see what those things are. So there I get my assertion. Hello, Asjez! Welcome! Good to see you again. There, test can configure streaming asserting true is false. So I'll just focus on the tests that I make, and then Chris can fix the tests that are broken, that are environmentally failing, not because of anything I've done. So, client, I do want to see what client is. I'll just do that exit there, because then I don't have to watch the whole testing go. Hello. So this is protected, but I want to snoop this, right? I want to snoop this, because I've got to go into client, and then I've got to go into client again. And I don't think, so I can get HTTP client actually. HTTP client, is that the method there? I think it's small TTP. I think that'll give me our special guzzle adapter. Yes. Let me let me hope. No. What is this guzzle adapters method? Here, client. Implements HTTP client, async HTTP client. So it's a private method. So I would have to reflect on this. Adapter. So Nexmo adapter is Nexmo get HTTP client. I also removed the link banning stuff. Oh, it's private. Wait. Dodgy. That's a text field though. Text file though. So thank you. Cool. I actually want to make this as a private function set hidden object field value. Get method that's set accessible. Set accessible. Oh, accessible. It's actually better. Member, object member. Set property accessible and then set method accessible. I mean, for now, I actually only need the property, so I'll just do that. Get property. And now you can actually, in PHP 7.4, no, never mind, I won't do that. Okay. So I should be able to call this, that on adapter client, and then print our adapter client. Right, and that should give me the underlying guzzle HTTP client from the default construction. No, there's an error. What is your error? Property client does not exist. It so does. Minimize this nonsense. And that, minimize. And that. Oh yeah, flip. Crash course in PHP reflection. So I'd have to use get value, right? Get hidden value. Something like get value. Is that the method I need? Yeah. Well spotted. Back on this object. I did something wrong. What's my did wrong? Property client does not exist. Dude, don't be like this. It totally does. Client. It's private. It's private, but it's totally there. Oh yeah, I can do that. Filter pattern. Very cool. That's really cool. You can do like a regex there, it seems, or like a substring match. Anyway, test can configure. Okay, so we have the client thing there, and it is I'm struggling with this reflection. Wow. That's oh, flip. No. So that's what I had. Oh, I can use reflection object there instead of getting the class like that. That's a lot neater. And then this would be property. Set accessible prop get value objects. Come on. Oh, oh. I think that's what's happening. I was overwriting this. Oh, flip, that sucks. Okay, I think that's what was happening there. Yes, I'll just do it like that. I think that'll should do it though. Object reflection get property name property set accessible true property get value for that object. That looks like what you did. Reflection of object get property name client. See, this doesn't seem to be returning. This doesn't seem to be returning for me. What am I doing wrong just with using my longer names? I'm like totally flubbing here. What's going on? It does exist. What? PHP unit? There, clients. Open this up. Private client. Yeah, I will do that. It's our Guzzle stream adapter. It's the one that we made, but I wonder if it's some kind of like lazy initialization thing going on here. I mean, it wouldn't look populated though if it was. $5.47. Property get value. Hold on. So get value on object. Get property is the field name. Don't think you should be testing anything else here. If stream is configured, assert the client is an instance of, it's always going to be an instance of Guzzle stream adapter. Check it. Not that class. Where's this class that has it? So it's always an instance of the streamable thing. Check it. It's only if Guzzle options are defined that it gets those options in there, but we don't even check if stream is defined in here. So it's always this instance of a streamable thing, but if it's not configured, then it's probably not going to have a detach method. I'm just probably doing something really stupid here. Let me copy your code verbatim, because I'm probably just doing something stupid. So this is obj, and the only thing that I need to change is to use name instead of foo. Maybe, hey, you know what? Let's do us a little bit of var dump and die. What? Okay, there's the object, and the property name is client. Okay, so we know that stuff is what we expect. Nexmo reflection object. Okay, let me make that ftqn, ftcn. Property client does not exist. It can't find this property client. Oh, I know why. I know why. It's private to the HTTP class that we are subclassing. Have a look here. Our Guzzle stream adapter extends client, but that property is private on the client class. We have no idea that exists in here. It's not defined in here. It's private to this class. Maybe it's not found because it's private here. Like, this is terrible to do this, but if we say protected here, will this code work? That is so interesting. So reflection is not getting the property of the parent class. We would have to copy this stuff. Yeah, but I don't I don't have access to this. I don't have access to this. Interesting. I've never done that before. So reflection objects, reflection class, reflection objects, get parent class, get parent class. Is there a get parent objects? This is so gross. This is so gross. Okay, get hidden parent value. Okay. Reflection object that. Parent ref is ref get parent class. Parent ref get property. Prop set accessible value is, let's try this. That's nuts. Get hidden parent value is the method we need to call because I changed it. That's nuts. Wow, that is so hacks. Wow. Wow. I can't help but think that this is a bit of an abuse of the system. Wow. No, look, it shouldn't be this difficult. I think we are, what's that error that we're doing here? The law of Demeter. Is this it? Least knowledge. So when we try and code, we try and follow this. When we try and code, we try and follow this, which is if you accept a dependency, don't look through its object chain. Don't say like dependency arrow client arrow config and then snoop that stuff out, because then your code that's doing that lookup has to know the exact structure of the dependency, and then the structure of the dependency changes and then the parent breaks. So the law of Demeter is to try and avoid those in-depth lookups. And that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid by staring at the config. Where is this class? I always struggle to find this. That's what I'm trying to avoid by staring at the config of Guzzle Stream to conditionally instantiate these things. But now, this test is only this stupid because we're validating the contents of one of those nested dependencies. Like, the test will break if our implementation changes, and that's not the worst thing, but it's brittle. But my word, my word, that is horrible. Horrible code. Okay. Woof. Woof, 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 woof. Okay, I like these things to be a little bit more explicit. Oh, weird. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, so the way that we've implemented our Guzzle Stream adapter over here is by extending this client. That's the first grossest sign. We could decorate, so have a construct to take the original adapter class, and then stream calls on that adapter. Yeah, absolutely. It'll break if that breaks. Absolutely, the test will break. It'll be quite obvious why it's broken though. So yeah, but yeah, absolutely, it's brittle. So we could decorate. This would be better because then here we could have a public function get guzzle clients. And so we could just say get our adapter, get the guzzle clients, but this is the least amount of work for other people or for us making adapters that are streamable for other HTTP clients. This is actually the least resistance for that. So we're taking on risk as the maintainers of Nexmo PHP library that the test is brittle and we have to deal with that ourselves. But it makes this a lot easier for people who want their clients to support streaming. So it's a lot cleaner for the consumer to be able to do this, because then they just have to, whatever HTTP client adapter they had before for their HTTP client, they just have to make a subclass of that implements streaming interface and do this one method. They don't have to do a whole bunch of decoration shit for their adapter. So makes it nicer for them. It kind of sucks for us, but at least this way we can get the clients. Now the next thing is, how do we get that config from the Guzzle client to show that it was configured? To show that it was configured with stream is true. Get config. Yes, we can call this directly. Guzzle get config stream 1. So here we can say this assert true this. And that passes our test. And so we can make a second Nexmo over here without this. And we have to do all of this shit again. Okay, so here's where we would use a provider. Generic stream config provider. With streaming, without streaming. No, it can just be a provider. It can just be a provider. So we give some config in here, and we give an empty config in here, and then using this over here, we can just actually copy this whole doc comment. Ooh. And we can take config in here, and this can be config. We can probably say config and is streaming. And so this would actually be an array of arrays where config is the first thing and is streaming is true. And this will be an array of arrays where config is empty and is streaming is false. Features redundant since there's already a way to do this. Response is client send request request. Resources client stream is not easier or more explicit than response send request. Resource is get body detach. It is more explicit and you can do that. We're just wrapping get body detach in an extra redundant method that makes it a little bit easier to stream. So the entire approach of this PR that I've gone with is how do we reduce the amount of effort required to switch from get the full body in memory to stream the body, to try and make those things as easy as possible. And so the way that I've manage that with some sane code is to say you can configure the default Guzzle client in the options that were already being accepted by this method, by this constructor method, and you can either call get body stream detach, or you can call stream. So there's literally just two changes to move from getting the full body in memory to streaming. It is configure this option, or at least this key value in that second parameter, and use the stream method. That's it. That's a potential improvement to be made. Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's a potential PR that can be done. I wanted to run this by the Nexmo folks last week, just to make sure that they were happy with my thinking around it. But it's definitely, as you're right, it's definitely something that can be added. Peanut, thanks for the follow 3 minutes ago. It's good to have you here. We are doing some Nexmo dev. So yeah, definitely that PR to Guzzle makes a lot of sense. Let's see if I can figure out the rest of this thing. So we have an option here and the second parameter, and that gets passed here, URL second parameter. So I think this is on the right track. Here's our config and what we expect for is streaming. Here's our config and what we expect for is streaming. And so here we can say this assert equals that and is streaming. And so we don't need to define this a second time. This should qualify as 2 tests now, although what? I didn't change this. There we go, 2 tests. One that tests if you can configure Guzzle and then if streaming is true, and another that tests not configuring it and if streaming should be false. Asjez, thanks for the follow. So, yeah, really happy about that. Really happy. Let me format this a little bit so it's a little clearer to someone who is inspecting this, what is actually being done here. So like that. Just like that. I mean, it's super redundant. People would probably want to, some people would probably want to delete this stuff if they saw it. I know I would a lot of the time, but this makes it super clear what is being, what is meant by these magical arrays here. So initial Nexmo config says, okay, if you've got Guzzle and stream is true, then this is whether or not Guzzle should be streaming. Makes it super clear, right? Okay, so that's the first test that we've done. And that just tests, if we look at the... Boop. Thank you so much for the reflection help, by the way. That just verifies that this stuff is as we expect it. Okay? The next thing we need to test is if you configure, if you use an adapter that implements our streaming interface. If you don't use an adapter that implements our streaming interface, you should see this runtime exception. If you do use one that implements our streaming interface, you should see anything else. So let's try and make that. Public function test test client must be able to stream to stream. Test client must be able, I think is the filter. We do nothing in that test currently. Okay, test client must be able to stream. So in order to test this, we will test with our blank thing first. This HTTP, which is an HTTP mock. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is our Nexmo client. It has a mocked HTTP client. Marinoid, welcome to the stream. Good to see you again. We're streaming some Nexmo stuff again. Okay, so this has the HTTP mock thing. If you call Nexmo stream with a URL, and what was the other parameter we had to do? Client Marinoid. I think I just called you Marinold. Marinoid. So if you call, what was the method we needed to call here? Get. Alright. Stream. Okay. Params can be an empty array. So it's just a string URL. You know what? I actually think I changed that interface in here. No, I didn't. Perfect. Maybe I changed it in here though. No, perfect. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a bit all over the place. Sorry. Okay, if you call this, you should see an exception. And it should say, client does not support streaming. Great. So here we can say this expect exception. I'm not sure that this method works for this version of PHP unit. I'm not sure what version of PHP unit it is. Runtime exception class. Perfect. So we get an exception called, because we called stream, and the mock interface does not implement our streaming API. Oh. Yes. We don't do it in the Nexmo client stream method because it could be another implementer. Get body detach is a feature of Guzzle, not any other HTTP client. Should it? Does the body always have a detach method? PHP Fig PSR 7. Does the response body always have a detach method? It does. It always has a detach method. Method stream interface. So if that's the case, our check here is a bit useless, right? This method doesn't need to be here. Yeah, you're totally right. This method doesn't need to be here. We could use the original client. Oh, I just committed that change. Oh, just committed that change. Okay. Let's do that. Let's delete this mess over here. We need to change the test we just wrote because we don't need hidden parent value. We can just use hidden value. We don't need that. We can use that. Let's move this up to above our new test. So let's run these quickly. Test can config. That runs. And that runs. Okay. Yeah, you're totally right. That will always... Oh, we're not testing the stream stuff yet, which is why that's not broken. We're not testing the stream stuff, which is why that's not broken. That kind of means that I don't know that this code is actually working yet. Where is this method? Stream. Okay. So if it's not an implementer of streaming interface, like the thing is, this is always going to return true, right? I mean, it's always going to return something that has a get body and that has a stream, a detach. So I don't need this interface at all. This get body detach, yeah. 100%, you're right. You're right. So use our normal Guzzle client, use our stream method, which just slims down this code over here, but as you have rightly explained, exists in PSR 7, so we didn't really need it all along. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, it does. From what I can tell. And if we look in here, promise interface. Okay, but what does function request? Option synchronous true. Does await. So response interface, which is PSR message response interface. And if we go there, I just want to make doubly sure so I understand that this detach method will always be there. Where's this? Response interface, extends message interface, get body returns stream interface. So PSR7 responses, now I'm sure, will always have a get body method, and that will return stream interface, which has a detach method. So even if it's not streamed, I guess the differentiation there is that if you're not using a Guzzle, if you're not configuring Guzzle to stream, it will load everything into that stream. Whereas if you are saying Guzzle must stream, it'll just load pieces in that you read out. So this does simplify our code a lot, because now we don't need the interface that we spent half an hour doing earlier. But the usage is still simpler, I think. For our download stream, this and stream. So we've achieved the same thing. It's just we didn't have to have our interface to validate it. Okay, let's keep on testing, because I think this testing is revealing stuff. Cool. Thanks for being here, DJekyll, and for your input. It was greatly appreciated. I'll see you around, mate. Be safe. Okay. Clients must be able to stream. So we get the expected exception. We don't need to do this test anymore, though. This is the thing. We don't need to do this test anymore. Because we were going to test this stuff, but we don't have this complicated method anymore. It's just always going to return this get bodies detach. We still need to test this, which we're doing. Yeah, no more exceptions, dude. We did import something here that we don't need to, oh no, we did an FTCN. So actually, this config was the only thing we needed to test. I suppose we could test memory usage on a preset URL to make sure that the streamed memory usage is less than the full file memory usage. So if you have like a large recording URL defined in env, is there an env thing here? No. So maybe the only thing I'd ideally like to check is public function test streaming is better. That's what I'd like to test. Okay. How do you, I forget, how do you mark PHP unit test as skipped? Or skip PHP unit test? Skipping of tests. Mark test incomplete. No, it's not that. Interesting test would be asserting the content of the stream. Mock the clients and expect a request. Return a response with foo content. Assert that the resource returned with the stream. Yeah, I don't want to mock responses. I really don't. If they really want that test, I'll dig into it. But for now, mark test as skipped. Okay. Okay. Large file URL is get env. Large file URL. If empty large file URL, this mark test is skipped. Okay, let me finish this test first, man. Let me finish this test first. Okay. So if that's the case, then okay, fine. How do we test this? Will memory usage always be the same? Will memory usage always be the same? We have some helpers here. Shared. I guess we would just use get peak memory usage, right? How do we test the memory usage of a discrete request? Like, do we have to shell out to another process that just does that request? How, like, that's really interesting. PHP test memory usage. Memory. Yeah, that's going to tell me the full script execution. But what if I want to test memory usage of one request? How do I do that? I like validate that the streaming request is better. That's what I'm trying to go for. Should I be testing this? We kind of know it is. Yeah. So maybe we don't want to test this at all. Maybe it's enough to assume that if you've configured Guzzle for streaming successfully, it's someone else's problem to assert that streaming is better than loading the whole thing into memory. We know it is. We can test that in this companion project. We can demonstrate here that it is better. Maybe we don't actually need to test this as a feature of Nexmo. We can know at a theoretical level, streaming it will be more efficient for larger file sizes. Maybe all we need to test for this PR is that if you specify these options, streaming will be enabled, and if you don't, it won't. I kind of feel maybe I'm justifying. Okay, we've gone back to the original client. We don't do our special streaming method. We get rid of our interface and our adapter, and we add some tests. Ooh, I have some extra white space there. Is that it? Nope, I got some extra white space over there. Very good. Oh, but okay. You could, using Blackfire, you could, I guess, have constantly running alerts on your app to say whether memory usage is climbed or not. Okay, so this only gets marginally more complex. This makes things a little bit, removes a little bit of friction between reading full file into memory and streaming, and this tests that that configuration will be done appropriately. I feel like actually it's ready. We don't need this anymore. Is there a way that I can strike that through? Yes. Cool. So, just a couple questions to answer. Dragon Man Tank, I think this is ready for review. Asjez, what's your GitHub username? Hey, that's useful. That's and cool. That's useful. Cool. I think that's done. So, yeah, I actually think I'll end the stream there. It was lots of fun learning about the new reflection stuff I'd never used before. That was cool. And thinking through how to test this, and thank you again for helping me refine the implementation of it. I think it's a lot cleaner than what I was going to submit an hour ago. And it's not such a huge change. That's pretty cool. I think now the next step is to add docs for this once it's approved, if it's approved in its current form. To add docs for it so that I can show how it's done. And then I guess Chris also mentioned maybe doing like a blog post on how this works so that people can get like a better idea about it. So yeah, a couple more things related to this, but I think as far as the PR goes, if it was my project, I would be in a happy state to fix it, or to merge it anyway. So thank you for hanging around. Thank you for contributing, especially Asjez and D Jekyll. Thank you. I will be back here streaming tomorrow. I'll see if I can tuck it to the docs for Nexmo. Otherwise, there's potentially some other interesting code I want to tuck into, but I'll leave it for tomorrow because I don't want to mention it now in case I change my mind and decide not to do it. So yeah, either this or Gitstore or another exciting little project. So join me tomorrow for that, and I'll see you then.